Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, March 5th. Quite an interesting weather pattern over the next week to 10 days or so. Very cold weather conditions this morning. Temperatures will modify this afternoon, but they still will be well below normal for this time of the year. Perhaps high temperatures in the Philadelphia metro region in the upper 30s. Normal highs are in the upper 40s, so some 10 degrees below normal for this time of the year. It'll actually turn a little bit colder on Thursday as a cold frontal system slips through the region later on today. So we'll still be below normal on Thursday and below normal on Friday as well. Now, none of these next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, will be quite as harsh as it was yesterday, but still below normal for this time of the year. Then much milder weather moves into the region on Saturday, and then colder again on Sunday and milder again on Monday. So kind of a topsy-turvy temperature pattern as we approach the weekend. As far as precipitation goes, there will be a lot of precipitation in the southeastern part of the U.S. over the next 48 hours or so. Ultimately, that results in a low-pressure area that moves off the southeast U.S. coast, and it looks like it'll skirt the I-95 corridor at the end of the work week. Some big differences in the computer forecast models with respect to that potential system at the end of the week, and we'll take a look at 3 different computer forecast models for the Friday-Saturday time period. Let's first start off by looking at the surface map, and we have a strong Arctic high pressure system here in the southeastern part of Canada, and very cold conditions continue here relative to normal for this time of the year in the mid-Atlantic region. There's actually a little bit of a trough, it's hard to see here, depicted by the NOAA forecasters as they put the surface map together. It's kind of a reinforcing shot of colder air that drops from the north to the south, and again it'll pass through the mid-Atlantic region as kind of a cold frontal system, and tomorrow will be a few degrees colder than it will be today. So certainly no big warm-ups coming over the next 48 hours or so. A lot of activity in clouds and precipitation along the southeast U.S. coast and in the Pacific Northwest, where they will get several inches of rain over the next 48 hours or so. Well, here's a look at the nationwide radar from the mesonet.org website. 2 areas of interest in the southeastern part of the country, just a lot of precipitation. Yesterday morning there was an amazing ice storm, amazing for this time of the year, way down in the southeastern part of Texas, across Louisiana, into Mississippi, in this region right here. They had ice. It was one of the coldest Mardi Gras ever, way down in the 30s, all the way down to New Orleans. Well, that area of precipitation has now moved off to the southeast U.S. coast, but it'll sit there and spin around in the atmosphere for the next 48 hours or so, and ultimately, again, strong low pressure will develop off the southeast U.S. coast and then right up to the northeast, and it looks like it'll skirt the I-95 corridor late in the week, in the Friday night, perhaps Saturday time frame. Still a little too early to say exactly what will happen there, and we'll talk about that over the next couple of minutes. Meanwhile, out in the Pacific Northwest, just storm after storm pounding the Pacific Northwest over the next few days, and they will get several inches of rain in that part of the country. Well, let's focus in on the threat for the end of the week. Again, that huge area of moisture down in the southeastern part of the country will result in a low pressure area that moves off the southeast U.S. coast, and then it moves northeast. Now, whether it affects the I-95 corridor is still in question. If it does, it would be Friday night time frame, either in the form of rain or snow. Too close to call, maybe a combination of both, if it in fact backs up to the north and west that far inland into the I-95 corridor. This is the GFS forecast map for Saturday morning from last night's 0Z GFS model run. Low pressure way off the east coast. Totally dry conditions here Saturday morning according to last night's GFS model run. And let's take a look at the NAM. It is vastly different than the GFS. And here it is for Saturday morning, the same time frame, amazingly different. The NAM model run has a low much closer to the coast, precipitation all the way back into the I-95 corridor. In fact, north and west of the I-95 corridor. That compared to this, just tremendous difference. Same time, this is for Saturday morning, and again, this is all from that southeastern U.S. low pressure system that will move to the north and east. Big differences between the NAM and the GFS for Saturday morning. By the way, the European model run tends to lean towards the GFS in shoving that system farther to the north and east and avoiding precipitation in the I-95 corridor. Let's take a look at another computer forecast model, the Canadian model run for this late week scenario. And here's the Canadian forecast map from last night's Zero-Z model run for Thursday night. So this is a different time frame just to make things more confusing in terms of the computer forecast models. The prior two were for Saturday morning forecast maps by the GFS and the NAM. This is for Thursday night. We'll step through this hourly from late Thursday night on, and here we go. And we can see the precipitation just about into the DC metro region, certainly on its southeastern side. We continue to push forward here in time. Now this is now on Friday morning. Low pressure situated right along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And finally, at that point, it's still very close to the DC metro region, perhaps a mixture here of snow, sleet, rain as it starts to pull out to the north and east. So kind of a completely different solution from the Canadian model in that it gives the main precipitation threat beginning Thursday night into Friday, and again, just skirting the I-95 corridor, and big differences between the GFS and NAM. So we'll kind of obviously monitor that over the next 24 hours or so. One last thing before we leave today is there's a very interesting setup potentially for the second half of next week. Let's talk about that now. This is actually from last night's GFS ensemble run. It is a 500 millibar height anomaly forecast for the end of next week, Friday of next week, and quite a different scenario as compared to what we have right now, is in that it looks like another deep trough will reestablish itself in the eastern part of the U.S. and a strong ridge up the west coast, similar to what we had the last few weeks in terms of bringing Arctic air masses back down into the U.S. Here we have the flow of air driving air from north central Canada into the northern U.S. if this pattern indeed develops. At the same time that the cold air seems to want to return to the mid-Atlantic region, the middle part, the latter part of next week, there are certainly signs for a potential significant storm to develop along the East Coast. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame of next week. We have a lot to get through before we get to that, but just wanted to point that out. There's some interesting prospects for the second half of next week. So a lot to talk about here over the next couple of days. Stay tuned to the SIWeather.com for any updates. I'm meteorologist